When you hear of Ted Bundy, you think of many things. Sadism, murder, kidnapping, rape. These are what we see this primal monster of a person as, because that is what he truly was. Before this, though, he was seen as the antithesis of any of these. But what caused him to snap? As a child, Ted Cole was a self-proclaimed loner, seemingly cast out among his family. He never had a relationship with his real father, and he was raised by his grandparents in Philadelphia rather than his own mother at that age.
Are you confident that he will be acquitted here?
I hope he will be acquitted. I can't say I'm confident.
His mother, Eleanor Cole, had him illegitimately and kept him from his father, and claimed to be his sister to keep custody of him. This caused severe confusion and isolation for Bundy, who remained humiliated by these circumstances and permanently traumatized by these events. His grandparents took care of him, with his grandfather being an essential father figure that Bundy would confide in. Through this, it has been said that his grandfather would abuse small animals, as well as Bundy. And at the age of 6, he was pulled from his grandparents and forced into a family with his mother and a new husband, in which he had to take the namesake of Bundy. This isolation, potential abuse, and a lack of bond with his mother and father fit into a new possible connection to the source of the empathy that Ted grew to lack.
But we're beyond that now. I mean, I'm just telling you how I feel. But through God's help, I have been able to come to the point where much too late, but better late than never, feel the hurt and the pain that I am responsible for. Yes, absolutely. In the past few days, myself and a number of investigators have been talking about unsolved cases, murders that I was involved in. And it's hard to talk about all these years later, because it revives in me all those terrible feelings and those thoughts that I have.
From a young age, Ted showed zero signs of psychopathy. He was very social to start, which is the antithesis to what is seen by behavioral psychologists as common among psychopaths. He was very power and attention hungry, though not being able to receive the attention he needed caused isolation. With a lack of empathy, he had to work hard to fake his outer personality in order to manipulate others. Taking psychology classes in the University of Washington taught him more about manipulation tactics that he would use to lure his victims. Over time and practice, he built himself a public persona, one of charm.
Contrary to Section 78204 Florida statute.
I'll plead not guilty right now.
And your grand jurors being present.
Romance.
Lawyer, Bundy questioned her about his character. She said he's a kind, warm, patient man. It's a very positive part of her life. Then the convicted man popped the question.
Carol, do you want to marry me? I want to marry you.
Intelligence.
People say Ted Bundy didn't show any emotion. There must be something in that. I showed emotion. You know what people said? See, you really can get violent and angry. There's no right way for me to act. Sure, I'm mad. I'm showing emotion right now because inside I'm mad. But I've kept it together because there's no point in destroying myself. I have got to keep myself together. I have got to stay calm. I've got to keep my presence of mind, because as long as I do that, I'm going to beat these people. And that's the way I feel.
This was all built to keep him as far from the crime watch as possible, though this character would unmask in time. People were interested and angered at this false persona act.
What does one infamous convicted killer think of another? That's what we wondered. And that's why when I interviewed Charles Manson last week, I asked him what he thinks about Ted Bundy, the serial killer who recently died in Florida's electric chair. Here's that and a couple of other final words from Charles Manson.
Bundy's a rumpkin. Bundy's a poop butt. Bundy's his mama's boy. Bundy's out there trying to prove something to his own manhood. That's got nothing to do with me. I don't roll around with poop people like that.
And this was only the start.
Tell me how you encountered Ted Bundy.
It was October of 1974. I was a pharmacy student at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. I was at a city park waiting for a bus to take me back up to campus. The bus was late. I told him I was going up to the U, and he said, "Me too, hop in." So I opened the door and got in. The first thing that I noticed was the inside passenger door handle was missing, and he leaned over and pulled the door shut. But I wasn't alarmed. I figured college kid, college car, things fall off.
How does he look to you at the time?
He looked like a college student. He was dressed nice, had a green pullover sweater on, nice slacks.
So you drive off, and what was his demeanor?
Lighthearted, we just had the normal conversation that strangers would have. I told him, my name's Rhonda and I'm a pharmacy student. What are you studying? He told me his name was Ted and he was a law student. In just a couple of blocks, he turned a way that wasn't the normal route to the university. And I asked him about that, and he was very polite and asked my permission if it would be all right if he took a little detour. And I told him he had to run an errand. We were taking me to the zoo. And he said, no. I said, near the zoo. That road goes over the hill and drops down into. We get to the bottom of that canyon, and we should have turned right to go towards campus. And instead he turned left and started driving up another canyon. And as he's driving, he's kind of looking at parking places and side roads. The conversation started to go weird then because he stopped talking to me. And I'm still trying to make idle conversation. And I'm thinking that him, and I don't want to embarrass myself. So I'm thinking of, how do I get out of this situation? And then he pulled into a parking place and parked the car in the car seat, so he's kind of facing me, and he leaned in really close. I thought he was going to kiss me. Instead, he said very quietly, "Do you know what? I'm going to kill you." And he put his hands on my throat and started squeezing. My first thought was, it has to be some kind of a joke. This guy's got a weirdest sense of humor. But that was just maybe a fraction of a second, because I realized he was squeezing too tightly. He was serious, and I was in trouble.
As we can see, Ted's methods of manipulation have become strong enough that he would charm women to his car. With this, he would take the women to a discreet spot and rape them, more than often killing them as well. This woman didn't die, but she is a prime example of what he did, and who he did it to. His first murder victim, though there are theories of earlier murders, a woman named Linda Ann Hume. She was pretty, in college, and soon to be dead. Ted killed her, mercilessly, and her body was never recovered. This wasn't his only murder. Though he admitted to around 30 kills, the true count lies within at least 100. He had many claims of why he started, that of rejection, an alternate personality,
He decides upon young, attractive women being his victim.
addiction,
I've lived in prison for a long time now, and I've met a lot of men who were motivated to commit violence just like me. And without exception, every one of them was deeply involved in pornography, without question, without exception.
though psychologists have found no concrete reasons for the evils he committed. He committed to around 30 murders after being incarcerated for many years, though experts say that the true numbers may vary, being only one of the many webs of lies told by Bundy in order to spin his narrative. After being caught in Aspen for the disappearance of Karen Campbell, Ted managed something quite peculiar.
Bundy jumped out of this second-story window at the front of the Pitkin County Courthouse this morning. He was scheduled for a court appearance and apparently had been locked into the law library by sheriff's deputies while attorneys were arguing a motion to strike the death penalty. Witnesses say he left in a hurry. However, nobody saw him open the window, and he escaped clean in an unknown direction.
It is unknown what started everything. The level of manipulation Bundy pulled among even his closest friends prevent us from knowing exactly what happened in his mind that caused him to snap. Nonetheless, we can learn a lot about criminal psychology from what was revealed through extensive research and psychological digging, and that is what interests me, or Zane rather. This has been narrated by Alex Davis from At the Crossing Productions.